Hi,
Hi, Sari.
how you doing? Yeah,
So
sometimes
we've got,
when people stay on for a
Right.
meeting, this is telling me that it's, all right, you know what, actually, I'm gonna take that, I'm going inside for 1 second.
So join it.
hey, bud, what's going on?
How are you doing? I'm good. I was just on the phone with Marcel. He should be joining shortly.
Excellent. Happy to put I saw you face on the website, but happy to put a face to the name.
Yeah. How are you doing? I didn't realize my background was the universe. So let me change that real quick.
I was going to say, those are some nice tickets you got there.
Let me just change it.
Can you hear us?
Hey, bud.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Reporting live from Florida, right?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Beautiful.
I'm hearing this. It's nice and sunny right now in New York City, from what I'm hearing, compared to Florida. Florida's gloomy today.
Is it? Yeah. It hasn't been too bad, actually.
Okay, nice. Yeah, it's been a gloomy, rainy day today.
Okay. But that usually passes, after a couple of minutes.
Yeah, but today was one of those tsunamis. So sometimes, Florida is known for tsunami days where it just rains, and then sometime during the day it'll actually give you some sunshine, which it did for a little bit. So
Right. Just long enough to dry it up before it gets wet again.
exactly.
Yeah, there's no winning. I used to live in Phoenix for 5 years and, it's 300 days of sunshine, but, for 6 months out of the year, you're scrambled eggs. You're getting cooked,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Marcel?
Yes, how are you doing?
Hi, Sari, we spoke on the phone a couple times?
Yes.
Hi,
Nice.
Sari.
Let's put a face to the name, as they would say.
Yeah, we're really excited about tonight's talk. Is anybody doing any screen sharing? Just chat? Okay.
What we do is screen sharing. What we'll actually have is a PDF that we sent to David that we'll probably have that shared. Outside of that, we can actually email that to everybody. If someone wants to take home after, they'll have a take home.
So do you want to share it on screen now? Should I give David screen sharing capabilities?
What? Yeah.
Or is that set up?
Well, yeah. Let me pull up a PDF. So 1 second.
How's everybody doing? Good night. Good evening.
And that's
Hey, guys, what's going on?
Nice to meet everybody.
Is that what you planned, David?
I'm not sure if we're going to fit it in, to be honest. I'll tell you why, because they have we're going to do an in-depth conversation about the different pillars. We've also got that 15-minute breath experience. And I was going to treat that as like a little after show goodie that we can,
Okay. So you just
that we can pass
the
on.
bio?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to make you a co-host in case you want to mute anyone, unmute anyone, do any other.
Let's set the default as mute everybody, and then we're just going to unmute.
It's always set, but I don't know why there are some people that just feel the need to just, I'll check it to make sure. Yeah, it says mute on entry, but people tend to walk around with their phones in their pocket while talking to their spouses or something sometimes. But it's all good.
Yeah.
But I'll make you a co-host in case you want to, mute anything, share anything. And you want to run like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, or a little bit more?
Yeah, let's let the conversation happen organically, but I think that short side maybe 40, and then maybe long side probably 55 or 60.
Right. So I'll put in the chat. I'll put a message to you when you're at about 40 minutes so that you could know how to gauge your time. Sometimes it's hard to look at the clock while you're managing the conversation. Okay. And that is it. I'm looking forward. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, we've been typically starting like a minute or two after. So.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Let me ask you guys, have you guys had any experience using Google Meet with all these virtual meetings you host?
Yeah, we had a share fund of Google Hangouts. So I like Google Hangout. Zoom offers certain things that are a bit different versus Google Hangout. I think the biggest thing is security. From what people are saying, ideally is Zoom's a bit more secure, but to me they're interchangeable. Definitely interchangeable.
Yeah, right before this thing, we
I don't
jumped
know if
on.
Hangout
Oh,
and Meet is the same thing. I think the Meet is, oh, I should put these on. You probably don't hear me so well. I think the Hangouts and the Meet are two different platforms.
Mm.
That's what
yeah,
I understand.
what it seems like, Google's always buying things like, I think Facebook just bought Jiffy. If you know what Jiffy is, it's, for all it's like
Yeah.
a GIF live catalog. So
Mhm.
it might have been that Google had purchased something, white labeled it, repurposed it, but we were very impressed. We jumped on it maybe an hour and a half ago, Sari, and it was a sharp product. They even have they have closed captioning built
Yeah,
into
no,
it.
I didn't actually. I was on another call. I wasn't on that one. But I know, listen, Google knows my whole life anyway. I'm open to anything they want to do.
It's true. And we're too
They're
reliant
in
on-
charge.
Oh, no doubt. We're too reliant on technology when we're hearing now from the teenagers that they've even had too much of the Zooms and the phone. Like, that when that age group gets to that point of exhaustion, it's just been
Oh,
too
yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has been, and it has. I don't even know what in the 3 months what Zoom call this is, like what number Zoom call this is, or the other of them. So, no, I'm excited. Terrence and Marcel told me much about the center and the just the quality of everything and the experience they've had, and so I'm glad to kind of match some names to faces and kind of see what it's all about.
Yeah. So you'll hear me dive into it. And we spoke about this over the phone, but there's that centered campaign that we have. And we're looking to kind of tether that conversation just to the fact that in fitness is what runs right down the middle of it, but with self-improvement through, better mental health, improved physical health, and kind of where they get married and intersect. So it's got right up your alley, professionally. Yeah. It's something that we do for a living as well. And we're happy to connect, happy to have you on board.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Are you sitting in Florida too?
No, I was, to be honest, I've been breaking the rules a little bit. My mother and my grandmother, I needed to see them. And so I surprised them for Mother's Day because I've been quarantined in New York the entire time. And so there's restrictions if you're coming from New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut. And Florida is one of those states that has restrictions. So I actually linked up with some high school friends that live in Atlanta. And then I flew to Atlanta and then we drove down. And I stayed there for about a week. And then now I'm back in Atlanta preparing to go back to New York. So.
Got it. Yeah, it's kind of a funky time. There was a governor in Delaware that was turning people down. He had state troopers pulling people over. Anybody with an out-of-state license plate at the peak of COVID. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what can be learned from all this, other than the fact that you've got to wash your hands consistently and don't touch your eyes, don't touch your mouth.
Right.
And
boost your immune system,
Right. Yeah. And never let your paper towel count go below 6, at any time.
Right.
You got to keep it, I'm down to, I think, 8 rolls and I'm thinking, I don't feel so rich anymore.
Yeah, you're right. You have to have a good extra pack in the back.
Yeah. And what's I'm not like the hoarding mentality, but the fact that everybody else around me is buying paper towels and toilet paper by the hundreds forces you to be a hoarder also, because if you don't plan ahead, you're not going to find it, come shopping time.
Well, what I was told by somebody that worked in the store is the reason they run out so quickly is because storing paper towels and toilet paper actually take up a lot of space. So when they're out. And then, you have to wait for the re-up. But I was blown away that, that was people's first thing to grab, like make sure I have enough paper. So it was interesting.
I think it makes sense to me, the paper towels at least, because you're spraying things down, you're Lysoling things. I haven't seen a can of Lysol in months. I think it's literally been 2 months.
Yeah.
you know. So it's a lot of spit shine.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's been interesting in coming to the South and kind of seeing the lack of concern, especially here in Georgia. You know, a lot of places don't even require you to wear a mask go inside. So it's, you know, it's been interesting, you know, and I was a little lax myself, but it's definitely been eye-opening within Florida and Georgia, just in comparison of how important it is in New York.
Yeah. And then you got the struggle behind the struggle, which is the big question we have to answer after this is all said and done, which is where do you tiptoe the line of civil liberties and public health?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I mean, look, you guys are practicing, you know, nature immersion and all that. And it's, you know, does the government have the right to keep me off the beach if I find that to be the best healer?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I find nature to be the most proper, you know, do you have the right to keep me out of national parks?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, when we're speaking about healing, it's like you said, parks heal, the beach heals. So for you to close and quarantine certain areas, to me, from a scientific standpoint, doesn't make sense, right? Because if we're talking about bacteria, ideally you would want to go to the ocean. Salt water is good. Salt water kills bacteria, the heat. So for you to close those kind of things away from us is a bit, it makes you question certain things, right? And, you know, and that's what a lot of people are actually speaking on now. It's just like, well, that's weird. If you're in the medical field, that doesn't make any sense from a medical standpoint. Even the way that we're talking about the virus and the way that we are engaging with the virus. I'm like, well, certain things make sense, definitely, but unless it's evolved to a certain level, then the contagion level of how they're speaking about it, it doesn't match, right? Because if it's that contagious, then we should be doing other things in order to protect ourselves. You know, maybe we need to wear a hazmat suit, things of that nature, but we're not looking at the virus and breaking down the virus in itself. So it's interesting, the different dynamics, because it's even creating a stir between people in the medical world, because we have a lot of people in the medical world saying that corona is definitely dangerous, but it's not as dangerous as they're making it seem. So it's very interesting how that's breaking down as well also.
Yeah, and we're starting to see the numbers now where the mental health is affecting people of all ages, where maybe COVID affects just more the elderly, and the numbers are starting to sway. At some point, you can't keep human beings locked up forever.
No.
You know, you got ramifications, you've got vitamin D deficiencies, and you've got people, you can't breathe your apartment air constantly, you know, at some point. But that's the way that Western medicine is. It doesn't really allow for a capitalistic market, right? Well, a lot of Western, you take your medication, pop your pills, but there isn't really the approach in a holistic. Not too many doctors kind of give you a holistic option before recommending medication as a second or third, fourth option.
Right. You know, it's like law of business. When you know, in business, they teach you to keep that individual coming back, right? So even when we think about medication, when we start having medications, is if too many people practice holistic health and you start healing yourself, ideally, how is that person coming back? So, you know, you have a business person such as myself, like, well, hey, if Dave is the doctor, I'm the business guy, and I need to continue to have people coming back. How do I continue that cycle? Because once you're healed, you're not coming back to the practice, and then David's going to say, hey, Marcel, I don't need to pay you for these services because no one's coming back. So it's like we're being taught to basically reel each other in and keep us in the hamster wheel versus saying, hey, let me just help you. Let me give you as much love as possibly can. And then that love is going to reciprocate, and the individual is going to come back in a different way because more than likely they're going to be healed from diabetes or whatever they're dealing with. But then now they're going to give you a referral-based customer. So now you didn't lose John, but you gained another customer because John moved on, but he gave you 5 different clients from that, and how you handle that interaction.
For sure.
So,
yeah, it's unfortunate that nobody's going to be visiting the doctor's office as a rep, just saying, hey, listen, spend more time in nature, drink more water, touch your toes, stretch a little bit. You know, it doesn't get anybody paid in that sense, and there's no patent to it. So Pfizer's not going to say, hey, drink your water, stretch, take a hot shower, sweat it out, you know, because you can't monetize that. It's kind of a, yep. Okay, let's pull it back a little bit. Well, it's past 8 o'clock, so let's start again. Here we go. So I want to thank you guys for joining us, and kind of representative of the times. You're broken down. You guys are sitting in Florida. We've got Georgia. We're based here, obviously, in New York. And wanted to thank you guys and anybody who's attending and anybody who's going to be joining. for this collaborative effort. And really this is intended to be kind of a roundtable of creative thought. And I wanted to thank you in advance for any type of wisdom you were to bless us with. So Marcel, you and I have spoken. Tell me a little bit about how you're uniquely qualified to speak on the topic of health and wellness and how it has positive ramifications in the lives of children and adults.
Yeah, so wellness for me was something that all three of us kind of partaked in at the same time. And I say that I used to be 320 pounds. I was extremely overweight, played football ideally. So football helped me out in high school. But then when I went to college, I got very comfortable, tried to do the same things that I learned. But of course, I wasn't exerting as much calories as you would ideally need. So of course, I got bigger and bigger. And then I dealt with other complications, me being asthmatic. And then my health kind of predominantly got worse and worse and worse. And then I used to have Terrence say, hey, one of these days, once we move out and start working on our business, I would love to help you lose weight. And then, of course, amongst that, I met Twan, and Twan was like, yeah, man, let me help you lose weight as well. And then became a collective idea of, hey, let's approach wellness and let's figure out kind of what's going on with Marcel. And within time of that, this basically started at about 24, we're 33 now, so about 8 years of this. We actually continue to work with the business, continue to grow. And then ideally we will work on something outside of wellness, right? And you always know what's right for you because it takes you into that direction. So wellness was never the focus. We actually wanted to start a production-based company. And amongst us working out together collectively and, you building tribe and community and family, they were showing me things of, hey, Marcel, if you really care about yourself, maybe you should take this step in the next approach for your wellness. And I continued to listen to Terrence and Antoine, and then of course they had their own journey as well as they were helping me along my wellness journey. And then from there, we just started letting go of certain foods. And once we started letting go of certain food, we started to see how that had an actual effect on my health. So asthmatically, I was able to breathe better. I didn't have the mucus buildup that most people have when you have asthma. I was letting go of prednisone, albuterol, and certain different things that I needed in order for me to live. But I started to realize that, like a lot of greats say, it's not what you do, it's really what you consume. You are what you eat. And as I started to take that in, I just started to see the light and see how it changed me as a person and even changed my mental and how I approach things mentally. And that's kind of became the birth of our company because Antoine was like, hey, let's connect the dots together. You're working out, we focus on wellness, we're learning different things. Why not focus on a new business, and a new business being wellness? We've been living this way now for 8 years, so we've tested a theory, just like they tell you in science class, test that theory. We've tested that theory. We've done the scientific method to know that it does work. For myself, for Terrence, for Antoine, and then for other people that we've met throughout our lives, especially now with the kids and coaching, we take that same approach going into the finites and pulling back that artichoke. And, here we are now talking about breathe and wellness. Well, we never ever thought that this would be our lane. You have an architect major to the left of me, production major, and a business major. So ideally, it was something that was not in our reality, but as we continue to evolve and change, it became a part of our reality. And then we created a modality from it, ideally.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of exemplary of what it takes when you kind of democratize your self-growth. So in some ways, some people have the power to kind of go out and do it on their own, and they have a world of research at their fingertips with the internet and have kind of the willpower to do it on their own. Other
Right.
people need to look to experts or even their parents, and that's our focus here today, is the role of the parent in looking to their child and saying, hey, listen, there are certain times where I have to push you, there are certain times where I have to pull you, but at some point you kind of have to put wind under their sails enough where they kind of believe in that product, believe in themselves, and get that started. Just speak to the idea of a team as it builds the self for just a second, if you can, any of you guys. Just how important sometimes it is to find somebody who's like-minded in a role model position, in a parent position, that if you don't feel like you can get it done yourself, you can look to that person to pull you up during the times that you feel weak.
Yeah, definitely. I could speak to that. I mean, we are a prime example, we wouldn't be here if we didn't have each other literally in the same house when making this journey, taking this journey. I'm actually a parent myself, and I have a son. So when I had my son, I would say he was probably the biggest influence in the health decisions that we were making in that path. These guys are like fathers to my son. So pretty much, I was homeschooling him, you know. So as I implemented certain things with him, you start to see certain results. And if you do it early, then you get better results, right? If you do it later, then it's a little harder. You know, they kind of come into themselves already. But if you do it early when they're young, give them vegetables, have them eating vegetables. Even if you don't eat vegetables, just do the things that's right for them. It'll take you a long way, and it'll make a difference in the long run with your kids.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there is the do as I say, not as I do mentality, but it certainly helps to lead by example. And when it comes to that, you know, if you eliminate the bad choices within the fridge, or you take those snacks and you hide them up on the top shelf to the point where they physically can't reach them, you know, they have no choice at a moment of weakness but to reach for the healthier options. Let's talk about health for a second. You know, obviously it's been said that what goes into the body is what you can expect out of it. I feel like even when you kind of put somebody through the rigors of a workout, you know, you give them a hamburger, you give them a steak dinner, they can't produce as much the next day as they would if they were just running a leaner, kind of a healthier diet. Anecdotally, what changes have you seen in the youth that you've worked with once they've been able to flip the switch and go to kind of a green diet, or even with a meat-based diet, but something just a bit healthier?
Well, I would say with that, big thing that we're on is instinctively eating, right? Because everybody's going to eat differently. But the simplest form is every being, you know, as we call it, sentient being, are able to feel and perceive. So with that, we're all electrical beings. We need electricity to thrive. So the simplest form, and we always try to break it down for people, is when you charge your iPhone or your Android, you're going to use the best charger, correct? You're going to make sure that it's either an Android-based product or Apple-based product. You're cognizant and aware of that because you don't want to give it the wrong voltage and it causes the issue. Foods are the same thing. So if you're done working out and you've exhausted your physical, how do you revitalize yourself? And Terrence and Twan always talk about that. Let's recharge. Well, how are you going to recharge? You know your electricity. So the more living your foods are, now let's go to a scientific portion, right? The more living your foods are, the more you're going to gain that electricity because those foods are living. Now, we're not saying eating meat is bad. No, not at all. You just need to revitalize yourself in the best way. Too much of anything isn't good for the body. But now we just have to put living things into your body. So if you're eating steak, nothing wrong with that. If you're not getting bloated or you're feeling adverse effects, continue to eat your steak, but just be cognizant and aware that you need to put living things into your body in order to get the best charge for your body. And that's it in the simplest. And once you start realizing that and you change that small train of thought, everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah. You mentioned electrical beings. I mean, one would have to look no further than just if a person's being electrocuted and you were to simply touch their skin, it conducts right through them. So exactly. you are an electrical being that has the ability to then shock them. And you can make that chain 10 people long and it would still rock and roll. So what are some of the mistakes? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was also piggybacking off of what Marcel was saying, in the sense of like, and beyond the physical part of things, like once you start making those healthy choices, you physically start to feel better, but then there's a self-confidence that comes about, right? It promotes making those positive decisions for yourself and seeing the results of that, then promotes a positivity within self and promotes other healthier decisions. Maybe that have nothing to do with food, maybe with relationships. And once you have that confidence, it translates into the rest of your life. So having that confidence definitely translates in sports, in regards to sports, right? You know, you feel good, you're gonna play good, and you have that confidence going onto the court or the field or what have you. It shows, and that's just. And I think you could see that in regards to like a LeBron James who spends a lot of time and a lot of money on his health and his recuperation just through the long season, right? And he plays well just because of that self-confidence and him taking care of himself. So I think it not only does it happen in the physical sense, but in a spiritual sense and just in your relationships and how you move about the world. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. LeBron is, by all means, he's an older man. I mean, you know, the 16, 7-year-olds in the audience would laugh at that. But look, as a basketball player, having played since he was young, 35 has got a lot of mileage. And yet he's outperforming most players in the league. You know, he's a shining example of what it, you know, taking care of your machine, you taking care of your car, it's going to take care of you, right? I've always laughed at the fact that people always find getting started in fitness the hardest part, and yet by quitting all the time, all you're doing is starting over and starting over. So your muscles are constantly sore, and you have that challenge of being mentally fatigued and not quite, you know, confident of yourself. So what are some of the tricks that you guys have developed during those moments of weaknesses? It could be anything from staying hydrated throughout the day. It could be packing a lunch, having Tupperware on hand. But what are some of the tricks to keep yourself motivated, to keep yourself hitting kind of past that point to where you want to get stuck? Could be 2 days in, could be a month and a half.
I would say first, healthy snacks, right? Or like healthy addictions, right? So healthy cravings. If you know you're going to be craving and you know you're going to, you know, want certain snacks and certain things that are normally not healthy, they have healthy alternatives these days. They have healthy alternatives to everything. Chips. Me and Marcel, sometimes it could be our devil, you know? We get healthy chips. You know, we get chips with coconut oil and not vegetable oil. You know, we get chips that's made without corn. You know, we get chips that's pretty much a healthier alternative. You know, you can go. I can go down a list of the different alternatives that we have to pretty much go to whenever we eat foods. But yeah, healthy alternatives and healthy snacks for sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it gets to a point, I think, and I'm sure you guys would agree, that once you kind of kick the oil, things start to taste a little bit fattier and oilier to you. So it's just really a matter of pushing yourself past the point where you have that craving to get to the point where you actually start craving those healthier foods, right?
Definitely.
David, I would also say, as far as like a trick goes, compassion, having compassion for yourself. Not
Okay.
every day you're going to be your best or eat your healthiest, but know that, you know, that I can keep going. And sometimes, you know, people get really down on themselves. You know, they're on this path of being healthier and they get weak, like all of us do. And they have a burger, or they have this or something, fast food. And then, well, I can't do this and I have to start over, or I just simply can't do it. And, you know, we beat ourselves up a lot. So if you could just continue that compassion for yourself and know that there's going to be hard days, but I can also, you know, fight through this, and you know, some days are going to be better than others, but as long as I'm on a positive or upward trajectory, then it's going to be okay. So I think compassion is a huge trick.
That sounds great. Okay, so let's rip open that playbook, given your experience and what you guys have seen. So we're going to grab open an empty blender. We're going to take a cup of compassion. We're going to dump it in there. We're going to take a little bit of nature. We're going to put in some greens. Whether or not you want to put in some meat is up to you. What else is going to go in there as far as what we're doing? So to give us just a couple of things about a little bit of strength training. And again, we're going to angle for the kids first, but don't forget that when parents teach this to the kids, it certainly helps when they sell what they're believing in and what they show. So we've got a little bit of compassion in that blender. We've got a little bit of strength training, mobility. What would an ideal day look like in the life of an active teenager, healthy and active teenager, as far as what they practice?
Definitely the mind, right? So a big thing is the mind, focusing the mind. And once you start changing your mindset and how you're approaching things, it allows you to go that much further. Then the compassion opens up, because now you're becoming a student of anything, right? And with anything, we have to know that it takes time with anything. So you have to know that your cells are a living being, like you're a living being. Your cells are having an experience like you're having an experience. So as you're continuing to change, you have to give time to your cells to change also. And as you change, your cells change, and then your cravings start changing naturally. You start coming into things naturally because you're changing individually, but that all happens with your mindset. So like we're saying, compassion, giving yourself self-love, knowing that sometimes you're gonna take a step back, but within that step back, there's a lesson within that step. You know, we used to say that's your missing rep, because when you're in the gym, you're always looking for that next rep to finish that rep, right? So now it's, what rep did I miss? Okay, I ate chips last week. I had a cravings for chips. It's not a big deal. Your cells are still changing. It takes time. Well, what happened in that moment of that craving? How did you feel after you consumed those chips? That's those big things that you have to start looking at. And as you start doing that, you start figuring out the body, and then you start seeing how the body is literally a mechanism that reacts to everything in the world, but you have the control to say yay and negative things as you get that mind control. So definitely mind control is a big thing. So whether you are meditating, whether you're just taking, meditation doesn't have to be, you have to sit down for, 45 minutes to an hour, legs crossed. That is ideal, and that's where you want to get to, definitely. But everything's progressive, especially spirituality, right? Everything we're doing well in spirituality is all progressive. So if you can just sit to yourself for 2 minutes and just think about your day. What did I do for the day? How did I attack the day? Did I attack the day with everything based on the highest aspect of love? Did I learn what I needed to learn? And once you start doing that, you naturally change your behaviors, and it becomes a part of life. So like my friends always say, hey, how are you able to, buy vegan-based foods or plant-based foods? It's so expensive. It's only expensive because it's not part of your life. Once it becomes a part of your life and a part of your routine, you always get what you need to get, don't you? Meaning if you want new clothes and new shoes and the new technology, you're always going to make sure you have the money for that. So, but it's just changing your mindset, knowing that you can do these things. And then once you do that, sky's the limit. But your mind, changing that mindset. It's
That's
small.
a good point.
It's the biggest leap that I can tell you.
Yeah, knowledge is important. Definitely. Reading, doing the research on these different things that you're eating and how it affects your body. That makes a big difference, because it'll affect you intuitively. You'll naturally start to make changes because of what you've read. It's almost like you're feeding your brain, right? And how your body is going to change the direction in which it goes on a day-to-day basis. You're going to go eat something and be like, I remember what this does, and I remember how many, calories it might be in here, how we can do this and do that, and you might start to feel different. I definitely was that way with Dr. Sebi. I didn't know nothing about hybrid foods until I researched Dr. Sebi and read about hybrid foods. And then I found out how hybrid foods affect you. Then I started to realize how they were affecting me. Before that, I didn't know they were affecting me like that. I didn't know who the culprit was, But then after I read about these hybrids, then I started to realize, these are one of the culprits that, affect my bowel a certain way, or brings my energy down, or, just makes me feel away emotionally, like gets me anxiety, anxious, So knowledge is definitely important in doing the research on what's out there.
Right. Yeah. And to that point, it's very important that whether it's within the day, and it's also, you don't have to do it 11 o'clock at night when it's almost too late to fix your day. Right. You can check in with to your point, Marcel, you can check in 9 a.m. and 12 o'clock and just have a quick internal conversation in the mirror. Or to yourself and just say, hey, listen, the way that I need to feel. Had feelings. It could be a physical thing, could be a mental thing. And how do I invite in these better feelings? Right? You mentioned that we're energetic, magnetic people. We have a lot more control. And luckily for us, we can't plead ignorance anymore. There's enough research out there that tells us, hey, listen, we don't have to sit out there and test the pH level of water or do all these, crazy things with nutrients. Is essentially, that jelly beans are not as good for you as garbanzo beans. So you have a little bit of a basic knowledge of that. Go ahead.
No, I was just what you said about one of our main things in our process when we were getting started, and we tell people all the time, you want to change your life, change your water, right? And not all of us have access to the high pH level waters or I don't know, those purifying systems that you can put in your homes, but we do suggest you take a lime, you cut up a lime, you put it in your water, you put it in the fridge, and do your best to stay away from the purified waters. If you have to, go with the spring waters, and just pay attention. Like Terrence said, Nadu said, just do the research. Once you do the research, fear is really just the unknown. So once then you walk a different path.
Right. Yeah, and it's also good to leverage the advice of people who came before you, who are the scientists or the health gurus who have tested this stuff for our benefit and have told us, hey, listen, and to that point, the topic of vitamins just came up in the chat. One would imagine that if you have a healthy enough diet, you don't need to supplement it with vitamins, but sometimes people have busy lives, they might need to reach out. Your opinion on vitamins, please.
I would say with vitamins, again, it's very intuitive to you. So if this is the beginning of your food journey, you're just starting to, take in vitamins or starting to eat healthy, then I would say yes, you definitely want vitamins. For the simple reason your body needs that additional love in simplest form, okay? But if you're further along your process, so like my friend, he has this beautiful elixir that he drinks, and I think it's phenomenal. It has over 26 different potent, great things. The issue for someone like me and anyone else that's been on their food journey for a long time, 26 potent ingredients is just too much for my body to handle, because my body doesn't need as much as it used to, because I've been on this food journey for a while. And that's what we have to always take in consideration. Marcel is going to be different from David because it depends how long David's been on this path. We are going to get to the end of the path and it's all going to be the same. But if David just started letting go of red meat, prime example, but I've let go of red meats, I'm really eating a complete vegan-based diet, there's going to be different effects in how we handle things. So he can take a shot that has 26 essential vitamins that he's going to need because his body needs that, because he's eating denser foods. It's a different ballgame what's going on internally. Where someone like me, my diet's very pure, 26 items at once for me in general is too much. I can only eat one meal a day. My body can only consume that because my body naturally came into the diet that everyone's doing now, which is you fast predominantly the entire day until around 4 o'clock. I can't remember the name of it now, but there's a different diet for that. I can't remember the diet.
Yeah, of course. And then they'll do the fasted cardio sometimes in the morning,
Exactly.
thinking that it burns reserves of fat.
Exactly. Your body naturally will come into these things, but you have to allow it to naturally come in. So with the vitamins, I think if you're early in your journey and you don't feel any adverse effects, yes, definitely take it, because we do have to find the balance in everything, right? So
sure.
Do we say no to medications? No. If you're sick and you need the medication, definitely take the medication. I can tell you, I used to take the medication, albuterol, from that, prednisone, you name it. I took all kinds of different steroids and medications. But as I continue to get healthier, it's like what Twan and Terrence say, you have to now challenge yourself. And now that's that mental rep. Like, do I really need my inhaler, or is it really me?
Right.
Then you have to take that step. And as you take that step, that freedom comes. And then you go further and further. But I feel like vitamins, you can definitely do vitamins. The further you get ahead in your food journey, vitamins can hurt you because it's just too much. And the further you get into your foods, you don't consume so much anyways. So for you to have that many vitamins going through you at once, it's like a supercharge that you only need once a blue moon. So if you're doing it, ideally vitamins once a day, you're just doing too much and your body's going to get overloaded.
For sure. And everybody's a unique, thank God, everyone's a beautiful and unique snowflake, to quote the movie Fight Club. And they've got different genetic footprints and DNA samples, and we all come from different backgrounds. So just, it might, for beginners, it might be easy to copy and paste somebody's exercise program or nutritional program. But the only way, you'd obviously agree that the only way really to discover yourself is just through trial and error. Is just to say, hey, this type of exercise made me feel a certain type of way, or whatever your specific goal is. Let's shift quickly from a little bit of that nutrition and kind of what goes into your body to my favorite part, which is what you then obviously demand from your body as far as performance. I love it. Yeah. It's something that I was born into, and it's,
I have one more thing. I wanted to say on the topic of vitamins. I think it's really big business for supplements and vitamins. And the conversation has been, specifically in America, the soil has been turned over so many times that our vegetables are not giving us the nutrients that we once had or it once produced. So I spoke to some of the guys before here. I've been traveling. I went to see my mother and my grandmother. And so I felt like I couldn't necessarily get the right ingredients I needed from traveling all these different places. So I did pack some supplements, but it's vitamin A, vitamin C, and turmeric. And and so I've been
turmeric you're taking for the anti-inflammatory properties?
Yeah, yes. And I packed a lot in here, but I honestly haven't been taking them every day, but I do try to remind myself to take them because it's nothing I really do on a regular basis. But I do think it's important for some people who feel like, the vegetation that they're able to purchase may not be up to the standards, or they're just having a hard time where they live getting the resources that they need. I think you could take it, but like Marcel said, just feel your body, be intuitive with what your body is telling you. But I think they can be helpful. But it's important not to be reliant.
Yeah, it's like a crutch for a twisted ankle. At some point, you might need that help, and it might be the exact perfect thing at that time. But as your body begins to heal itself, in the case of a twisted ankle, in the case of a kind of an improved interior, you begin to shift more weight off of something and then back onto something else. That was a great point. Yeah. Let's talk about younger kids and getting them involved in exercise. Even if it could be teenagers, it could be college-age kids. It's in your experience, just how healthy, just how important, I should say, has exercise been as a life-changing factor in the lives of those kids that are younger?
Well, I would say definitely at the center, exercise makes a big difference. It makes a big difference, especially in these basketball games that we play. You could always tell the ones who are putting in more work, who are getting training outside of the gym and outside of the games that we're playing, because we only play games once a week. So we're not able to train the kids all week as you would want to as a coach. So you can tell the ones who are actually working and actually training during the week, who's working with the other coaches that actually do come to their homes and work out with them. And yeah, it's like a night and day difference. It's like boys versus men with some of these kids, So I would say it makes a big difference, and it only helps. It only helps, and it keeps them from getting injured too. The joints, dealing with the bones. You want stronger bones. The bones are a lot softer. They're not like us as adults. So you want to be mindful of that when you're dealing with the kids, and you want to, get a trainer out there and working with them so that their bodies are good when they're out there playing, and they don't, come home too banged up.
Yeah, it's a good point. I read a statistic just maybe a couple of months ago that most ACL tears actually happen within kids 14 to 22. You'd think it would be older men, but it's actually not, and it's an amazing process. Like the bone remodeling, in the process of the bone is actually, as it gets attacked with that, progressive heavier weight, it physically gets thicker, physically stronger. And look like for a kid over the course of a week who doesn't necessarily have any sports direction, but just wants to be healthier. So let's grab that blender again. You've got compassion in there, you've got healthy foods, and you want to toss in a little bit of exercise as far as cardio and strength. What would you recommend?
If you're just dealing with the injury, you said, or you coming off of an injury? You were breaking up.
Injury aside, or you're just talking about getting somebody jump-started for the first couple times?
Oh, for the first couple of times, I would say, working on foods is one thing, of course, but just starting off slow into calisthenics. So we're working on our push-ups, working on our sit-ups, working on really controlling the body and becoming more familiar with your body. Because as you become more familiar with your body and you're able to work out your body, you get comfortable, and then you're able to do different things. And a lot of what working out is being comfortable. And like Twan always says, it's that self-awareness, that self-love. You have to understand that your workout that you're doing, you have to be confident in what you're doing and know that, hey, you're going to soon get to the individual that's doing all these amazing, great tricks from bar stars and all that. You can progress there, but they didn't start there. You always have to remember that these things that you see on YouTube and these different trainers, they weren't always there. They progressively got there, and their workouts, and most workouts are progressive-based workouts that help you do a muscle up, prime example that everyone wants to do, or a flat. There's progressive workouts that you have to do for a couple of weeks to a couple of months, depending upon how much time you put into it, right? It always goes back to time. You have to put in that time. And as you start putting in that time, you'll start seeing you're reaping of what you sowed, and you start seeing everything starting to unravel for you in a good way.
Well said. Yeah,
Another one, David, I would say that's important is stretching. The earlier you can get anyone stretching, the better athlete they will be, and the less likely they'll come into injury.
Right.
I wish it was something that I practiced at an earlier age, but I definitely saw the difference in any performance, honestly, with stretching. And I mean, just walking, like the more your body is balanced and stretched, the more it's pulling on something else, which usually leads to injury. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely
point.
what Marcel here said. But if you can get your kid stretching as early as possible in the morning and before he goes to bed, I think that you'll see a great improvement.
Great.
Yeah, and then you kind of begin to pull back the kind of the HTML code there of your body, which is that when you start to stretch, to properly stretch, you have to start properly breathing. And when you're properly breathing, then all of a sudden now you're tapping into a proper meditation. So here it is.
Yep.
You have this thing where it's just, touching your toes seems like something you do in gym class, but if you follow it, and it's also one of those things too, stretching, where if you stay with it for longer than a day or two, you start to notice those changes.
Yes, you do.
Right? We all know that famous example how they sold those silicone charged bands, and they would always have people touch their toes without it for the first time and then with it for the second time. But it was a $1 billion scam industry based on the fact that your muscles were now they were more aware of what was coming next. And then you actually, within the one reach, were able to reach down a couple of inches lower.
Yeah.
So for those beginners out there, or even those people who are more advanced but just want to get to the good stuff and kind of want to get to that feeling of, I think I might die during this exercise, which is a good thing. It's always, that's the point of that what doesn't make you will break you. But how do you implement from scratch, let's just say, a kind of a stretching routine? What are the tricks? You kind of head over to the YouTube. How do you experiment with that stretching?
With the stretching, the stretching is more of a yoga. That helps give you a mind-body connection while you're stretching. You're not just stretching. And then from there, definitely, well, I'm different. I like bars. I like to start like high up. So going to the bars. Then from there, definitely a lot of planks. I like to get a lot of planks in. Everything's superset, right? So that way, especially superset with the core all the time, really. You know what I mean? And that just, it gets the abs to where the abs need to be a whole lot sooner, because that's the hard part to work out, So supersetting for sure, and yoga stretching. I would give that advice to someone if they were asking me, or if I was leading someone into a workout.
Right. Yeah, and it seems somehow yoga got twisted up into having almost a religious connotation in this country when it's really not. It's just isometrics, and you're holding something longer, and actually gives you the ability to restore. And most people don't know that static stretches at minimum cost of entry is 30 seconds. People are usually proud of themselves for holding something 10, 15 seconds. All right, that's a nice job, buddy. Pat yourself in the back. You've got another 15 seconds to go. Now you're getting started.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So let's talk about plyometrics, and let's talk about calisthenics, because I do like that. And it's something that there is no excuse, especially like in quarantine time, right? As long as you have access to a door jamb, or you've got something like you can put a towel under a door, you can grab yourself on. Specifically, because people like the benefits, what are the features and benefits of a calisthenics program? What are we looking at as far as cardio, muscle building?
And I would say calisthenics is, if you're someone who's dealing with being overweight and you want to lose weight and not have stretch marks or anything along those, I don't have one stretch mark because I went the calisthenics way. Now with calisthenics, what I think is just awesome about calisthenics, and we hear a lot of athletes referring to that's all they do is calisthenics workouts. It gives you control of your body. Ideally, that's what you want. You want to be able to control your body, know your movements, know what you can do, and challenge yourself. And then with that, when you're doing a calisthenic-based workout, you don't really have to worry about the excess weight that's being put onto you. Because when you're lifting weights, if you don't know the science behind it, is you're going to bulk up naturally, because it gives you the extra density. You're fighting against extra forces. So with that, it now it's going to make you bulk up a little bit more. And what will happen is if you don't stay in the gym and you're not consistent with it, you're going to see a huge, night and day difference. You're going to start seeing yourself a little bit more flabby and things of that nature, without using the most harsh word, but you're going to start seeing that. When you're doing a calisthenic-based workout, and we like to test our theories. From me being overweight, had the mindset I need to continue to work. I have to still work out because I'm still thinking that I'm big, but I'm not. It's just fighting that battle. Where Terrence didn't work out for a whole year and was like, yeah, I'm going to take some time for myself and do more spiritual work and not work out. My friends would always say, hey, man, Marcel, you look like an action figure cut up, but Terrence is as cut up as you almost, and I know he doesn't work out. What's the secret? Well, the secret is 90% of the workout is what you consume, literally, and how you're working out. And as long as you do a calisthenic-based workout, you're going to see results, and those results are going to stay with you. That's the big thing that I always see. It stays with you, and people who want to see results, and I mean, the majority of us were working out for results. So if you want to see those results and you want it to stay the longest, a calisthenic-based workout, it's going to stay with you the longest. And the levels and complexities to a calisthenic-based workout, you haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet. You can do one-handed push-ups. You can do one-handed upside down push-ups. I mean, it's amazing the things you can do that weights cannot do.
For sure, and it travels well. You can bring it if you're on business in Dallas and there's just a pole in a park. You take your backpack off and you hit it. For those who don't know, calisthenics is just body weight exercises, right? The pull-ups, the push-ups, the planks, and then any kind of derivative from that. But I also see that it forces the younger ones to kind of stay in their lane, because those who get to the gym, they see the weight stacks, they want to grab the 150s and take them for a ride. When calisthenics is, if you don't know how to do a pull-up with your body weight, you are forced to stick in that right lane, and you got to develop it before you can switch to the fast lane. Yeah, so it's kind of a good way to just stay disciplined, and it kind of burns the cardio with the physical.
David, I've seen so many football players. I used to play football, and I've seen so many football players that could bench 400 pounds, but could barely do 2 pull-ups. So it's definitely a difference in controlling your body weight, opposed to just being strong.
True.
So.
And I know a lot of people do sports. So I would say with sports, you have to understand, if you're looking at sports and you start dissecting and pulling back the artichoke, most athletes are going to be on a calisthenic-based workout. Now, if you're playing football predominantly, I played football as well. So you're going to lift weights, because you have to understand it's a different concept of what's going on in football. It's a different contact sport. You're literally out there to hit each other as hard as possible. So
and you got to get up and do it again.
Exactly. So now you have to now take in the science, and this is the science they've done. So you have professionals that say, hey, if you're playing football, you need to ideally be able to deal with more density so you can kind of absorb hits. Well, how do you build that? How do you build mass? Well, the quickest way is weights. That's why a lot of football players lift weights. You have to build that additional mass, so when Ray Lewis hits you, it's okay. You're able to hopefully withstand it, but you have to understand that's why a football player lifts weights. But there's a lot of skill positions in football where they only focus on calisthenic-based workouts. Right. And that's why Odell Beckham is able to move so quickly. Yeah, he indoctrinates weights into his workout too, because he's dealing with the fact he's going to get hit. But majority of what Odell Beckham does, and these high-end athletes that are super fast, they're usually just doing calisthenic-based workouts, just on an extremely advanced level.
For sure. Playing with the different tempos and all that. I mean, we've all had people in the gym who you can do rows with, bad form or even good form, to a pretty good significant weight. But then the second they, to your point, try to do a pull-up, the fact that they have weak wrists right off the bat, if you can't do more than 5 pull-ups, don't necessarily blame your back. It might be a wrist weakness, right? You might be a core issue. So you have to kind of diagnose it. And you really, the more, in going back to what we first said, what you guys first said in the beginning of this, was if you do treat your body like a machine, and you can kind of, bring it to the mechanics and kind of open the hood and see exactly why certain things work and certain things don't, you can bring yourself to better health. On the topic of better health, I know you guys do kind of what is a special breathing experience. You guys have the time to take us through that quickly?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, obviously the importance of breath cannot be understated. It's with you the moment that you're born. It leaves the moment that you pass away, God forbid. And it's something that as you kind of get more stressed, you're more aware of your breathing. So it's a way to keep your body under control and to kind of inflate your muscles with positive hormones. Take it away.
Beautiful. Well, let me share this screen so you can see the PDF as well. And we're going to have Terrence actually lead us through the stretch. You're not going to need too much space. So you're going to only literally need no more than 3 feet of space.
Arm's distance. Arm's distance.
Okay, so for those watching at home, there's a breathing experience that can be done pretty much in the location of anywhere. And again, unbelievably important, regardless of age, size, creed, doesn't matter.
Exactly. And this is the biggest thing what we were speaking about was the breath. And hopefully, can everyone see the shared screen, hopefully? I'm going to make sure.
Yeah, can you scroll? Are you able to scroll down a little bit, Marcel?
No, it's the whole screen. What are you not seeing out of curiosity?
Well, at the top, we see 4-6-2 routine. Start with hands at waist. That's the beginning, correct?
Yeah, that's the beginning.
That's the beginning. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So we can see the full page. Okay.
Okay, so just for you guys out there, I mean, you should be keeping 6 feet apart regardless, just to make Dr. Fauci happy. But, you know, clear up some space, make sure that you have the space to exercise and flap those wings. And let's get started.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Now, these exercises can be done every day. Ideally, it's best to do them every day, every morning, or in the evenings. Back up some.
And for those of you wanting a bigger picture, if you tap the right corner, Terrence is going to be there. You can tap it. You can make his screen larger, and you can shrink the PDF just a bit.
Okay. So, all right, we're going to start off. We're going to do two main exercises with the time that we have.
I'm going to quickly show Terrence so you can actually see Terrence versus the PDF, just to make it easier for everybody. So just 1 second. Are you able to see him now, David?
I can see him.
All right, perfect.
All right, so we're going to bend our knees a little bit, just slightly. All right. We're going to bring our hands to our waist side, right here. Okay. And this is a 4-6-2 method. All right. That means 4 inhale up, 6 exhale down, 2-second hold. All right. So just to give you a quick walkthrough, we're going to go up 4 seconds. And as we go up, I want you to pay attention to how the hands turn, right? So as I go up, my hands turn so that I'm pushing up this way at the end, okay? So just so you see that again, they're gonna turn, okay? So in the full motion, we'll go up like this, and then we'll turn up like that, okay? And then when we come back down, we'll come down and turn again. Once we get around the face, shoulder area, we'll turn again. We'll come back down, all right? So I'm gonna do the motion one more time before we start. Go up, turn, palms up, and we come back down.
And if you can, try to mute yourself. Sorry.
2-second hold at the end, all right? So before we start, just feel your body real quick, right? Feel what's going on with your body, you know, what's moving in your body, your heart rate. Feel all of that. You're gonna feel it when you breathe. So pay attention to that, right? All right, and let's start. So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2-second hold. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2-second hold. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2-second hold. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2-second hold. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 more times. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2-second hold. Last time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2-second hold. Now, bring your arms down next to you and just let go. And just close your eyes and take the time to feel what's going on inside your body. Feel what's happening in your arms, your chest, most importantly, your head. How does your heart feel? And just feel what's happening. Just keep going within yourself. Just take a few moments for this. All right. Now with this last one we're gonna do, because what time is it? We're down time, right? We got time for one more, right, David? All right. So this last one we're gonna do is come up, bring our hands to our heart, and come up. And we bring our hands back, and we come back in. And we do the same thing for the other side. Push. Bring our hands back to the front. We come in. Right? And we're going to keep going this motion a couple times, and we'll come back down. All right? So I'm going to show you the motion again. Here, all the way through and back. Here, all the way through and back. The breathing is 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 6. Inhale, 4. Exhale, 6. Inhale, 4. All right? So let's begin. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale as we come down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2. Up again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last time. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That last one was a heart breathing exercise. So have you done it? Just let go and just see how you feel on the inside. See how the energy is moving through your body. right. And always take the time out to see what's going on in your body after you do a breathing exercise. Each one. You always want to see what's happening and what's the difference. All right. Thanks, David. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. If you don't do any type of breathing exercises during your day or even sometime during the week, you've been told as a kid that you have to stop and smell the roses, and it's hard to smell the roses if you're not breathing properly. So you
Right.
got to get in there. You got to make time for yourself. This is not a way to spend your time, but this is a way to invest it. Look, this is backed by science. You just have to slow down before life takes over and your body begins to dictate the shots. It's important that while you still have the opportunity to be autonomous, you step in, you eat properly, you watch what goes in and out of your body, you sweat, and your body's a fascinating machine. And it's important to every so often just make sure you don't want to wake up 85 years old and realize it, or kind of wish that you hadn't pushed yourself to some point and didn't really explore what that vessel was capable of. So I want to thank you guys for your, for your time. Honestly, I can see doing this in the future with you guys again. You guys and I are like kindred spirits as far as what we see, and just let the people know exactly where they can find more information. SentientWellness.com.
SentientWellness.com. From there, we have our own Instagram as well, Sentient Wellness. And from there, we have a YouTube as well, Sentient Wellness, where everything is Sentient Wellness, and that's SENTIENT, and then Wellness, WELLNESS.com.
Sentient Wellness Foods as well.
Sentient
Right.
Wellness.
Yeah. Look,
I think on behalf of Sentient Wellness, I just want to thank everybody that came and tuned in and listened and practiced. It's really big for us as we grow. Know that this is all about self-love. All of these practices just encompasses self-love and loving thy neighbor. We're all in this together. It seems to be a real resistance in the world right now. And what we're discovering is that we just need each other. And so the better we take care of ourselves, the better we take care of each other, things will be okay. So thank you. Thank you.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. You want to, have obviously the compassion for yourself and the self-love, but every so often take a look at yourself and be like, hey, I need 5% more effort, and kind of push yourself a little bit here and there. Thank you guys so much. We will be doing this again, and really appreciate it. I believe in everything you guys teach.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Shout out
Let's
to
do it again.
Nigel with the infused water. I saw that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You were awesome.
Thank you so much.
I feel relaxed.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go take a shower.
The breathing was great.
It was excellent. Yeah, it really calms you down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be well.
Okay.
Stay healthy.
Be well.
Thank you,
God
guys.
bless you all.
First time I breathed in 2 months. So that's it.
So Joey, don't forget there are 3 parts to it. There's the inhale, there's the hold, and there's the
I did-
exhale.
I'm actually hurting from that part going up.
And by the way, if you feel the creaks and the cobwebs, your body's telling you something.
Yeah.
So reach out to Marcel. Yeah, reach out to Marcel, Terrence, and Antoine. You get some advice. You can work with them. Thank you guys very much. This is exactly the type of programming we offered in Centered Week. This is mind, body, and soul, running up and down those 7 chakras we have. A pleasure. Really love it.
Thank you. Be well.
Thank you,
Be
guys.
well.
Thank you. Stay healthy.
Get home safe.
Thank you, Marcel and Terrence.
Get home
Yes,
safe.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Good line. Get home safe.
Bye, guys.